What if Deku joined Team JPDE? Chapter 7. Fighting Through Pain. Monday. Day 15. David. Ijuku. You're gonna miss breakfast, Evelyn said. I want to miss the rest of life on Remnant, thank you very much, David said. Penny has gone to wash up, you know, Evelyn said. But she's going to come out, eventually. Wait, how do you know? David asked. Details. Now stop being such a big baby and get out of bed. You too, Ijuku, Evelyn said. No, David said. David, Evelyn said. No. No, 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 David shouted. Last chance. Get out of bed on your own, or Evelyn said. You can't make me, David shouted. Who's trying? Evelyn asked. Jack then pulled David out of bed. Oh my God, David shouted. You had your chance, partner, Jack said. Let me go, already. Ow, 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 David said. And stop flailing around, already, Jack said. Fine, fine. I'm up, David said. Good. Now you get up too, Ijuku. Or am I gonna have to do the same thing, Jack said. Okay, Deku tiredly said. Well. What's with the low energy? Evelyn asked. Then Penny came out of the bathroom. I just feel very tired, Deku said. Penny, you naughty girl. Keeping Iju up all night, Evelyn teased. I did no such thing. Ijuku shouldn't be tired, he had a full night's rest, Penny said. He's probably just hungry. Come on, Ijuku, let's get some food into you, Jack said. I'm not hungry, Deku said as he lied back down. Did he eat something to make him sick? David asked. No. All the food that we ate was sanitary, and Ijuku shows no signs of any sickness, Penny said. Jack then sat on the side of the bed. What's wrong, Ijuku? Jack asked. I think I'm missing my home, Deku said. Homesickness. But it's been 2 weeks. Surely you should have been homesick before now, Evelyn said. Well. Yesterday Ijuku told us about his life at home, and I think that's made him feel homesick, David said. Okay, Ijuku. You stay here and rest, but make sure you eat something. We'll be back right after school ends, Jack said. The four then left the room. As they made their way to the mess hall, they ran into Glinda. Good morning, students, Glinda said. Good morning, Miss Goodwitch, the four said unenthusiastically. What's wrong, students, and where is Mr. Midoriya? Glinda asked. He's feeling homesick. So, we are letting him rest for the day, Jack said. Guess that's to be expected. He didn't really have the time to say goodbye and being so far away from home. You carry on, students, I'll go and talk with Ijuku, Glinda said as she then left for Team Jade's dorm room. Glinda knocked on the door, but there was no answer. Glinda then opened the door and entered the dorm room. She saw Deku curled up on his bed. She then closed the door and sat next to Deku. I heard from your teammates that you're feeling homesick, Glinda said. Deku nodded. Do you want to talk about it? Glinda asked. Deku nodded. Glinda then stayed next to Deku, listening to him and comforting him. Meanwhile, with the rest of Team Jade, they were currently in the mess hall having breakfast. Do you think Ijuku will be okay? Penny asked. I'm sure he will, Penny. He's left a lot of people back home. He's just missing them. I'm sure he'll be fine, David said. You're right. Still, I think we should sit down with him today and talk to him about it, Evelyn said. Agreed. We need to make him feel at home here, Jack said. Team RWBY then came over to them. Hey guys, where's Greeny? Young asked. He's not feeling well, Evelyn said. Oh no. Is he okay? Ruby asked. He's physically fine. He's just missing his home, Penny said. I see. Anything we could do to help? Blake asked. Not as of right now. but you could help us make him feel more at home, Jack said. Got it. Team RWBY is on the case, Ruby said. I wish I could feel that, Weiss muttered. What was that, Weiss? David said. I hope we can make him feel right at home with us. Yeah, that Weiss said. Soon the bell went, and they made their way to class. During the lesson David could hardly focus due to what happened last night. Het, Penny, David said. Yes, David, Penny asked. I wanted to apologize for last night, David said. Oh, it's completely fine. I did not mind your prolonged staring triggered by my attractiveness at all, Penny said. Evelyn snorted out in barely restrained laughter, while David's mouth is agape like a fish. I mean, you were staring because you found me attractive, right? You didn't find my body weird. You didn't see my neck, Penny asked. No, I didn't. See your neck and your body is not weird, David said. Then that means that you find me attractive, Penny asked. Penny, I've called you cute since day one, remember, David said. Yes, but cute and pretty are things that don't necessarily imply sexual desire, Penny said. David's mouth gapes even more while Evelyn slides under the desk laughing. Just then the bell went. That's all the time we have today, children. Don't forget to port said. Lunchtime, David shouted as he quickly dashed out of the classroom. Well, congratulations, Penny. I can say with absolute certainty that he's been affected, Jack said. I did it, Penny said. But for the time being, try not to push it further, alright? Let him process it, Jack said. Penny said. And get back up already, carrots, Jack said. Evelyn then got off the floor. Good job, Penny. Soon you'll be a master like me, Evelyn said. Thank you, Penny said. Now let's talk about the other boy in your life, and his reaction. I don't think you should do that. Not right now, Jack said. Jack is right. Though I'm 99% certain that Izuku also found me attractive. And I also found him sexual attractive, Penny said. After eating lunch, the team went back to their dorm room. Just outside of the dorm rooms they saw Glinda again. How's he doing, Jack asked. He's doing much better than this morning, and he's had something to eat. I would suggest you ask him to tell you more about his home, Glinda said. Will do, David said. In their dorm room Deku was on his phone looking through picture of him and his mother and he and his friends. Glinda had given him permission to tell the rest of his team about the people from his world, provided he leave out the part of being from another world. The door to the room then began to open and Deku quickly hid his phone. Hey Aiju. You feeling better, Evelyn asked. Yeah. I still feel tired, but I have more energy, Deku said. That's good. Do you want to talk about your home, Penny asked. Yeah. I think that'll help, Deku said. The four then gathered around Izuku. So, what do you want to know first, Deku asked. If you don't mind. Tell us about your friends, David said. Okay. My first friend I made when I entered the academy was a girl named Akako Yurika. She's a bubbly girl with a good outlook on life. She's actually the reason why I go by Deku. She changed the meaning of it, Deku said. She sounds like a very good friend, Jack said. She is, Deku said. Deku then continued to tell the others about his friends from his world. Katsuki Bakugo, who I call Kaken. We were, Deku said, but then his stomach rumbled. Seems like you still need to eat, Jack said. Agreed. I have a much better appetite now, Deku said. The five then enter the kitchen and have a second lunch. After eating, Deku went back into the main room to sleep, while the others cleaned up. I need to go to the bathroom, Penny said. Okay, Jack said. Penny then left the room, though after a while Penny had not yet returned. Evil got suspicious and so entered the main room. What she saw shocked her. There was Izuku and Penny, who was still in her uniform, sleeping together only a few inches apart. "I'm not gonna let you get ahead," Evelyn said. Evelyn then climbed into the bed with them. She planted her very close to Izuku, so close that her boobs were pressed against his back. Penny then opened her eyes and saw what Evelyn was doing. "Evelyn, what are you?" Penny whispered. "Just because I thought you how to be bold, doesn't mean I'll let you get ahead. Remember, whatever happens, no matter who it's between," Evelyn whispered. "Well, I'm not going to back down," Penny whispered. The two smiled at each other before they went to sleep next to Izuku. The three stayed like that for the rest of the day and night. So, David had to sleep in Evelyn's bed. Tuesday. Day 16. Penny woke up early in the morning. As she opened her eyes, she was met by Deku's messy green hair in her face. She then felt something touching her inner thigh. She looked down to see Deku's left arm very high up on her thigh. "So, this is how they feel when Evelyn," Penny whispered to herself. Penny then looked back to where Deku and Evelyn were. She saw that Deku's face was pressed between her boobs with Evelyn's arms wrapped around his head, keeping his head there. Evelyn's skirt had ridden up her legs enough so that her underwear was visible. Penny also saw that Deku's right hand was on Evelyn's butt. "I think we've gone too far in this," Penny whispered. Penny then shook Evelyn awake. "Home." "What, Penny? It's so early," Evelyn said. "Sush," Penny whispered and then pointed down. "Oh, hello there," Evelyn said, as she then moved her boobs out of Deku's face. She then felt Deku's hand on her butt. "You little perviju." "Boop," Evelyn said as she bopped Deku on the nose. "Evelyn, I think we're going too far with this. We're almost fighting over them," Penny said. "Yeah. I can see that. I think we should back off for a while," Evelyn whispered. "Affirmative. Now we should get washed and changed," Penny said. Penny and Evelyn then washed up and put on a clean set of Beacon's uniform. Jade-Black's lesson had just ended and Team Jade were quite disturbed by today's subject. "That was disturbing," David said. The lesson had been about a settlement that was overrun by Grimm, and to top off the story, no one survived. "I agree. I had heard about the event before, but the way Professor Jade-Black talked about it made it particularly haunting," Penny said. "And to think something like that could possibly happen to my village," Deku said. "Right," David said. "Hey. I think you forgot this in class," a voice said. "How, what?" David said. David turned around to see a guy with white hair and in a uniform, but it wasn't the Beacon one. "Want me to keep it?" he asked. "Excuse me?" David asked. "You're just staring at it instead of taking it back," he said. "Whoops. Sorry about that," David said as he then grabbed his scroll. "I was just wondering about your uniform." "It's not from Beacon, is it?" David asked. "Nope. Mistral represent, Haven Academy." "The name's Howard Taranjai," Howard said. "I'm David Dik Begis." "But what is a student from Mistral doing here?" David asked. I'm a temporary transfer student for the Vital Festival," Howard said. "The what?" David asked. "It's an international festivity that takes place every 2 years," Penny said. "What?" she said. "But how can you not know, if I may?" Howard asked. "I'm sorry, it's only been a couple of weeks since I joined Beacon and..." "Well, simply put, I have amnesia," David said. "For real? That must suck. How were you even able to join Beacon?" Howard asked. "Well, Penny found me. She's Penny, by the way." "Penny Polendina," David said. "Suffice to say, many things happened." "It's a relatively lengthy story," Penny said. "I bet. Sounds like an adventure." "Well, I think I kept you enough." "Sorry for prying, guys," Howard said. "It's okay. price you pay for not knowing stuff, David said. The price of knowledge, as they say. Have a good day, guys, Howard said, as he then left. Deku was currently sitting in the garden, eyes closed and basking in the sunlight. Hey Izuku. Are you okay, Ruby asked. Deku opened his eyes and looked at Ruby with confusion before realizing what she meant. Yeah. I'm doing much better than yesterday, Deku said. But you're not at 100%, are you, Ruby asked, as she sat down next to Deku. No. Even though my teammates have made me feel at home here, I still miss my home, Deku said. I understand. Coming to Beacon is the first time I've spent a long time away from home. Though I guess it's not the same as I can easily travel back to Patch, Ruby said. Patch, Deku asked. Patch is a small island to the west of Vale. It's much closer to here than your village in Anima, so I guess it's, Ruby said. Ruby. I understand what you're saying. You also miss home, Deku said. Yeah, Ruby said. The two then sat there in silence. Hey, why don't we do something, Ruby said. Like what, Deku asked. I don't know yet. It'll just be something to do together as homesick buddies, Ruby said. Sure, why not? Call me when you have some concrete for us to do, Deku said. Will do, Ruby said. The two then went their separate ways. Wednesday. Day 17. That's enough. Mr. Arxora has entered the red. Great form, Miss Damarot. But may I suggest less erratic movements next time, Glinda said. But that's half the fun, Evelyn said. Fun, she says, John said. As for you, Mr. Ark, Glinda said. John said. I must admit, I'm impressed. Your skills are progressing steadily, and considering the level you were at when you joined Beacon. Whatever you're doing, keep it up, Glinda said. Yes, John said. That's all for today. Have a good day, children, Glinda said. Good job, Evelyn, David said. Very well fought. Your experience shows, Penny said. You defiantly threw John for a loop with those moves, Deku said. Thanks. Even if I've mostly fought Grim before. Sparring with other aura users is a nice change of pace, Evelyn said. You're right. But is it enough, Jack asked. What do you mean by that, Jack, Deku asked. Well, except for Port's lessons, first-year students don't have many opportunities to fight Grim, Jack said. True. So, Deku asked. Thing is, students that join combat academies already have at least a bit of experience with that because they come from lower grade academies. I was thinking of how to make you, David and Penny catch up on that, Jack said. Any ideas, David asked. A couple. I'll have to take it up the headmaster first, though. Now, let's go to lunch, Jack said. Team Jadi then left the classroom and headed to the mess hall. Hey Izuku. Wait, John called out, stopping Izuku from leaving the mess hall. Hello, John. What is it, Deku asked. Can I ask for your help in training today, one asked. Sure. I'm not doing anything this afternoon, Deku said. Great, thanks, John said. Before you leave, why aren't you training with Pyrrha, Deku asked. Oh, something came up that she needed to deal with. I told her that I would find another partner. And that was you, John said. Ah, okay. Lead the way to the classroom, Deku said. We're not going to the classroom. I managed to steal the amphitheater, John said. Nice. Let's go then, Deku said. The two left the mess hall and headed for the amphitheater. So where should start, Deku asked. With a match. I want to fight you again and tell me how to improve, John said. You are very dedicated to your training, Deku said. I have to be. I need to catch up with my teammates and not be a hindrance to them, John said. Well, keep at it, by the end of the year you will have caught up to them, Deku said. You think so? Jang asked. I know, so it's been around 18 months since I started training to be a hunter, and I've only had 6 months with me semblance, Deku said. Really? That little time training and you're that good? That's amazing, Jang said. Thanks, though I have been watching others and taking things from them that'll work for me, Deku said. Maybe I should try that, Jang said. I think you should. Next combat class or anytime you spar with someone, watch them closely to see how they fight, and look for any weaknesses. It would also be useful for you to create a profile on them. I have my own and it's helped enormously, Deku said. That sounds like an invasion of privacy, Jang said. Ah. I guess you're right. But I didn't write anything personal about them, just fighting style, weapons and semblances, that kind of stuff, Deku said. I see. Then I'll create my own book on hunters then, Jang said. Great. Now let's start, Deku said. The two then trained together until nightfall. The both of them then left the amphitheater and headed to the dormitory. They were now right outside Team JNPR's dorm room. Thanks again for your help, Jang said. It's no problem, Jang. You can call me when you want to train, Deku said. Thanks, Jang said. The two exchanged scroll number. Deku then smelled something good. What smells so good? Deku asked. Ah. It seems Nora has chosen today to be Pancake Day, Jang said. Pancake Day? Deku asked. Nora gets a day once a week to have pancakes for dinner. It was the only way to stop her from having pancakes every day, Jang said. I see. Then have a great Pancake Day, Deku said. Hey, actually, as thanks for helping me, would you like some pancakes? Jang asked. Not really a fan of pancakes, but I'll accept your offer, Deku said. Great, Jang said. Janyu and Deku then entered the dorm room. Welcome back, Jang. Oh, hello Izuku. What are you doing here? Pira asked. Izuku was helping me train in your stead, so I offer him some pancakes as thanks, Jang said. They better not be my pancakes. Nora needs to have her 10 pancakes, Nora said. 10 pancakes? You must really like pancakes, Deku said. I don't like them. I love them, Nora said. If you love them so much, then why aren't you making them yourself? Deku asked. Well, I don't know how to make pancakes and Ren won't teach me, Nora said. Probably because you'll just have pancakes for the rest of time, Jang said. Hey, pancakes are the best food in the world. Isn't that right, Izuku? Nora asked. I prefer katsudon over pancakes, Deku said. Katsu what? Nora asked. Katsudon. It's a Mistrali meal. I've never seen or made it before, only heard of it, Ren said, coming out of the kitchen. I don't mind giving you the recipe, Deku said. Thanks. But I have some bad news, we only have enough pancakes for the 4 of us, Ren said. That's okay. It's not the end of the world, Deku said. Hey, Izuku, you can have my pancakes, Jang said. Really? But it is your dinner, Deku said. I'll just cook something else. I can go 1 week without pancakes, Jang said. If you say so, Deku said. Deku was then given 3 pancakes on a plate. He quickly ate them and then left the room. Thursday. Day 18. Deku entered the classroom arena. He saw Young training inside. Looks like someone is hard at work, Deku said. Hey, Greenie. Didn't see you there, Young said. You were probably too focused on beating up that imaginary person, Deku said. It's a bit too early for shadow boxing. I was just going through some katas, Young said. I see. I've done the same thing with my shoot style and now I'm doing it with my Air Force, Deku said. So you here to cash in on my offer? Or look at me, Young asked. The former, Deku said. Then get your butt down here, Young said. Deku then joined Young in the arena. We'll just be practicing our katas on each other. That all right, Young asked. That's fine by me, Deku said. Young and Deku then started practicing their movements and fighting styles. So what's shoot style and Air Force? Young asked. They are the names of my fighting styles. Shoot style is the fight style I took up after switching from my arms to my legs as my primary way of attacking, Deku said. Why'd you change fighting styles? That's a lot of effort wasted, Young said. Be honest, I didn't really have a fighting style before shoot style, and life circumstances forced me to rethink how I fight, Deku said. Really, is it serious? Young asked. No. Not at all. It's fine unless I'm reckless, Deku said. Okay. And what's Air Force? Young asked. It's part of those air bullets I fired at you during our match in Glinda's class, Deku said. I see, Young said. The two then continued training till the sun went down. It's gotten late. Shall we call it a day and head back to the dorms? Deku asked. You can. I'm gonna continue training, Young said. Okay, but don't stay up too late, Deku said. Who are you, my dad? Young asked. Well, when you're late to lessons, I won't hesitate to say I told you so, Deku said. Fair point. I'll finish up in a bit, Young said. Okay. See you later, Deku said. See ya, Greenie, Young said. Gotta catch up to him, Young said to herself. Friday. Day 19. Cutting it a bit close, aren't we? The professor asked. Sorry, Professor, Deku said. It won't happen again, Jack said. As long as you two understand. You two can go on now, the professor said. Jack and Deku had cut it pretty close when it came to today's lesson. The bell had just finished going off when they arrived. Did you find your scroll in the end? Jack David asked. Yeah, it had fallen between my case and the wall, Jack said. We almost knocked someone over in the dorm corridors as we rushed here, Deku said. You didn't have to help me, Izuku, Jack said. What kind of friend would I be if I didn't? And you would have been late if you searched alone, Deku said. Why couldn't you wait until after lessons to keep looking for it though, David asked. Because the headmaster told me yesterday that he would let me know about my training proposal first thing in the morning, and for him that's before students wake up, Jack said. Oh. You mean, David said. Yup. But let's leave it for after lessons, shall we? You shouldn't neglect Aura training with a partner, Jack said. True. Less talky, more trainy, David said. Yeah. That only works on Evelyn's lips, Jack said. Then what about we go plus ultra, Deku said. Plus, David said. Ultra, Jack said. It's a saying that means work hard and surpass your limits, Deku said. That works, David said. Saturday. Day 20. Deku knocked on Team RWBY's door. Izuku, Blake said as she opened the door. Hey, Blake. Is Young still sleeping? Deku asked. No. She's not her, either, Blake said. Oh. I was gonna ask if she wanted to train, Deku said. Did you, now? Sorry to say that Nora beat you to it, Blake said. You mean that Nora is training with Young, right now? Deku asked. Actually, she wanted a sparring match. You can find her and the others at the amphitheater, if you want to go see, Blake said. I guess I could. What about you, Blake? Deku asked. There's a book I've been wanting to read, and I'd like some privacy. I mean, quiet for it, so I'll go to the library, Blake said. I understand. I'll see you later, then. Have a good read, Deku said. Thanks, Izuku, Blake said. Over in the amphitheater. Go, Young. Kick her butt. Don't give up, Nora, Ruby cheered. Ruby, you can't cheer for the both of them, Wise said. Why not? Ruby asked. You just don't. And Nora isn't on your team, your sister is, Wise said. But Nora has no one cheering her on, Ruby said. Hey, if you want I can cheer one of the two on, Deku said. Hey, Izuku, Ruby said. Good morning, Ijuku Wise said. Morning. What did I miss? Deku asked. Well, we is said. You've gotten faster at swinging that thing around, Young said. Or maybe you've eaten too many pancakes this morning, Nora said. Shows what you know. I don't eat pancakes, Young said. You don't eat pancakes? Nora asked. No, they are fatty, unhealthy, horrible without syrup, and Young said. Don't say it, Nora said. They taste gross, Young said. Take that back, Nora shouted. Excessive violence. Machismo. Bad puns, and Young trying to rile Nora up, Wise said. So the same as usual. Go Young, Deku cheered. Go Nora, Ruby cheered. Seems like I won't find any support in you either, Ijuku. In that case, Young, you represent Team RWBY, right now. Don't you dare put on an unsightly show, Wise said. Heard that, Nora. Seems like I should just kick your ass already, Young said. You'll pay for your offense, Nora said. Oh, well. You really take your pancakes seriously, don't you? I was just joking, Young said. You still said it, Nora said. What you got there? Young asked. Nora then pulled something out and ate it. Did she just stop to eat a snack in the middle of battle? Deku asked. That's not candy, Ruby said. What? Deku said. I can't believe this, Wise said. What are you talking about? What did she? Deku asked. Oh my god, it worked, Nora said, shaking uncontrollably. Nora, did you seriously just? Young asked. Nora then hit Young with a devastating blow with her hammer. Young, Deku shouted in concern. Whoops. Maybe it was too big. Anyway, I win, Nora said. Oh, well. Nora got her good, Ruby said. I can't believe she lost, Wise said. Young, Deku shouted as he rushed to her. He noticed that Ruby and Wise followed at a much slower pace. Ow ow ow. I was so not expecting this, Young said. Young. Are you okay? Deku asked. Only my pride. I tell you, that girl's mental. Did you see what she did? She bit on a dust crystal, Young said. She what? Deku asked. Nora's semblance lets her absorb electricity and turn it into raw power. Of course, there aren't that many natural sources of electricity in nature. But I never thought she would try and compensate for it in such a crazy way, Wise said. You're just mad because you didn't think about it first. Nora, that was so cool, Ruby said. But the aftertaste is so not cool, Nora said. Couldn't have you just crushed it in your hand? Deku asked. That's a much better idea, Nora said. But it doesn't have the same shock value, believe me, Young said. Nora, do you have a limit on the amount of electricity you can absorb? Deku asked. I don't know. Never reached it, Nora said. I see. The reason I ask is because a friend back home can produce and absorb electricity. And he has a limit, and if he goes over it his brain short circuits and he becomes stupid, Deku said. Okay. I won't try that anytime soon, Nora said. Not like there'll be any loss of intelligence considering what you just did, Wise said. Hey, Nora said. Alright, you get this round, Valkyrie. But I want a rematch. And a shower, Young said. Of course you do. We'll see you directly at lunch then, Wise said. Hey, my Goldilocks need long, tender and loving care, Young said. Young then leaves the amphitheater. As she goes, Deku could swear she was. Okay, I'm going showery too. And since I won, it's double cake in Vale today. Jung promised, Nora said. What about you? Ijuku Wise asked. Huh? Excuse me, Deku asked, as he was broken from his focus on where Young left. What are you going to do for the rest of the day? Ruby asked. I was going to ask Young for a match. but that plan was thrown out of the window, so I don't know, Deku said. Deku ended up just heading back to the dorm rooms. Deku was walking through the halls thinking about Young. Ah. Shoot, when will the floor stop spinning, a voice said. Deku stops walking as he heard the voice coming from Team RWBY's dorm room. Deku walks closer, the door isn't fully closed, and Deku could hear long painful moans. Deku peeks through the door and he's worried. Alright. Young, Deku said. Deku then entered the room. Young was on the floor holding her side and putting on a smile. Ijuku. What the Young said. I knew you weren't alright, Deku said. No, I'm not. See. I'm smiling. Would someone hurt? Smile, Young asked. Yes. Because I do the same thing, Deku said. How? Young said. I've hidden my pain before with a smile. But I don't go sit in my room and just wait for the pain to end. I go see the professionals, Deku said. How did you even know? Young asked. You had a slight limp when you left, Deku said. That's it, Young said. Like I said. I've been in your situation before. So, I know when someone is hurt, Deku said. Damn, you are observant, Young said. Now Young, tell me what hurts, Deku said. Everything. It hurts a lot. I was careless, Nora caught me completely flat-footed. Without Aura I would have lost a few ribs and the pain is a reminder, Young said. Nothing appears to be broken, so that's good. I'll stay here with you until it disappears, Deku said. Fine. I doubt I could get you to leave anyway, Young said. That's just who I am, Deku said. Young then laughed. Ow, it hurts to laugh, Young said. The two then spent 15 minutes sitting in silence, while Young's pain faded. How are you feeling? Deku asked. The worst of it is gone and my head isn't spinning anymore. I'll be a little sore for the rest of the day, though. And no crunches for me, Young said. Good. You should spend the rest of the day to rest. If you go back to training too soon, you'll just hurt yourself again. Believe me, I've been there, Deku said. Do tell, Young said. It took me just under a year to get my body in shape. I was given a dream plan to make it happen, but I didn't stick to it. I pushed myself further than I should have. The plan was modified to fit in with my determination, but the story is that working hard all the time will make things worse for you. Now may I ask, why did you act like it was no big deal? Deku said. Pain is something that I had to get used to, considering my semblance, Young said. Your semblance can also mangle your body? Deku asked. No, I have to mangle my body to use it, Young said. So it's pain absorption, Deku said. Not quite. It's more about how much damage is dealt to me. Suffice to say, it does me no good if I can't work through the pain, Young said. I see. Then you're like Kirishima, Deku said. Who's Kirishima? Young asked. He's a friend from back home. His semblance allows him to harden his body into jagged rock-hard skin. So his semblance is all about getting hit, Deku said. You gotta introduce me one day. I like this dude already. Sure will. Your manly personalities will mesh well together. As long as you take pain more seriously. You don't want to end up with scars like mine, Deku said. Yeah. I don't want scars ruining this beautiful sexy body, Young said. Good. Now, are you hungry? Deku asked. Yeah, Young said. Then let's make some lunch, Deku said. The two then entered the kitchen and made lunch. End of chapter 7.